Every time I sort through bulk like this, I'm looking for cards that deserve a second look. Not because they're expensive, but because they're cards that have proven demand. So while I'm sorting through this stack today, I'm pulling out Reverse Holos from popular sets like 151, Gengar, Snorlaxes, and anything else that could make a good addition to my eBay inventory. Not every card is going to be a huge sale, but when you're building inventory, cards like these can add up over time. And if you're trying to start an eBay card business without spending a ton of money on inventory, this is exactly the process I would recommend. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin and this is Swivels Card Shop, where we turn bulk to profit one card at a time. And this is part 2 of the bulk to profit series. So today I'm sorting through this stack of bulk and pulling aside cards that make sense to list individually on eBay. One thing newer sellers don't realize is that you don't need expensive cards to start building inventory. A lot of buyers are simply looking for cards to complete collections, binders, or decks, and that's where bulk can become a great source of inventory for new eBay sellers. And one thing I've noticed lately is that 151 Reverse Holos continue to sell really well on eBay. Because 151 is such a popular set, there are still a lot of collectors interested in cards from that set. And over time, I've noticed that certain Reverse Holos tend to get more attention than others. That's why whenever I sort through bulk, I pay close attention to Reverse Holos from popular sets. I'm also pulling out Gengars, Snorlax whenever I see them. Not because every card is valuable, but because these are exactly the type of cards that can be worth listing before they got tossed back into the bulk pile. One thing you'll learn pretty quickly when selling cards online is that not every sale comes from expensive cards. Sometimes it's a card that only worth a few cents in bulk but can sell for a few dollars on eBay. And those are exactly the kind of cards I'm looking for once I'm sorting through bulk. And when you do that consistently across hundreds of thousands of cards, those sales can add up over time. And honestly, the more bulk you sort, the faster the process becomes. You start recognizing cards almost immediately and spend less time second guessing what belongs in your inventory. And if you're brand new to eBay, one of the biggest tips I can give you is to start with Reverse Holos, especially Reverse Holos from popular modern sets. They're easy to identify, they have collector demand, and they're a great way to start building inventory for your store. And when I first started selling cards, I thought more inventory was always better. But over time, I realized that storage space becomes a real challenge. Every card you list has to be stored somewhere, and every card has to be easy to find when it sells. For example, I run Swivels Card Shop out of my 10 by 11 foot office in my house. I don't have unlimited space. Even with systems I've built, I don't have enough room to list every single card that comes through my hands. That's one of the reasons I focus on cards with proven demand. I can pull out Reverse Holos, popular Pokémons, and other cards that make sense to list individually. Then I can move the remaining bulk to a larger bulk buyer. When you're first starting out, you don't need thousands of listings overnight. Focus on staying organized, learning what sells, and adding inventory at a pace you can actually manage. And another huge thing, you need to list consistently, especially in the beginning. Try to list something every day if possible, even if it's only a few cards. And this is just my personal experience selling on eBay, but I've noticed that consistency seems to matter. If I had 1,000 cards ready to list, I wouldn't list all 1,000 in one day and then stop listing for the next 2 weeks. I'd rather spread those listings out and list it a little bit each day. At least from what I've experienced, when I stop listing for a while, my sales volumes usually start to slow down. Then, when I start listing consistently again, I often see more sales come in. And what's interesting is that those sales aren't always from the cards I just listed. A lot of times, they're from cards that have already been sitting in my store for weeks or even months. The new listing seems to bring activity back to my account, and older inventory starts moving again. Now, I can't tell you exactly how eBay algorithm works, but from my experience, staying active and consistently adding inventory has worked much better than listing a huge batch all at once and then disappearing for weeks. So if you're brand new and trying to build an eBay store, focus on consistency, even if it's only 5, 10, or 20 listings a day. Over time, those listings add up. Your inventory grows, and you create more opportunities for buyers to find your store. And one thing I like about this process is that I can pull out the cards that make sense to sell individually and then move the rest. Just like I talked about in part 1 of this series. Once I've pulled out the better cards and anything worth listing, I can sell the remaining bulk to a larger bulk buyer. That way, I'm getting value from both sides. And that's really what this series is about. Not chasing expensive cards, not trying to find the next big hit, but learning how to turn bulk into inventory, finding cards that are worth listing, staying consistent, and slowly building a card business one card at a time. Because that's exactly how I started, buying bulk, sorting through cards, pulling out the cards that made sense to list, selling the rest, and repeating that process over and over again. It wasn't fast, it didn't happen overnight, but over time the listings added up, the inventory added up, and eventually the business started growing. And I also want to mention that everything I'm sharing in this series comes from my own experience. I run Swivels card shop part-time around work and family responsibilities, so the goal for me has never been to process every card that comes through the door. The goal is to focus on the cards that make sense to list, stay organized, and keep learning as I build the business. Because one thing I've learned over the years is that not every store is the same. The cards that sell well in my shop might not sell well in yours, and the cards that sell well in your shop might not sell well in mine. Over time, you start learning what your customers like to buy, and the more cards you list and sell, the better you get at identifying what works for your business. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I like buying bulk. There's always an opportunity to find more inventory, whether it's a reverse holo, common uncommon, a popular Pokémon, or a card that most people overlook. You never know which one might turn into the next sale. So while I continue sorting through this bulk, let me know in the comments, what cards do you usually pull out from bulk to list on eBay? I'd be interested to hear what other sellers look for when they're sorting through bulk. And if you've been thinking about starting a card business, hopefully this series gives you a realistic look at what the process actually looks like. Not just the wins, but the day-to-day work that goes into building inventory and growing a store over time. And in part 3, I'm going to show you how something most sellers overlook ended up becoming one of the most profitable tools in my business. And believe it or not, it all starts with bulk. Now, what does that have to do with making more money from sealed Pokemon products? I'll save that for the next video. But once I connect those two things together, it completely changed the way I approach profit margins. If you've been following this bulk to profit series, you won't want to miss part 3. If you enjoyed the video and want more content about bulk, eBay selling, and building a card business, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow the bulk to profit series. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in part 3.